Sonic Talk.
Hello everybody, welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 462, recording today, Wednesday the 7th of September, kind of the end of summer. Hate to admit it, but it looks like it kind of is, although it's quite warm today. I did this last week, didn't I? I went on about the weather. I promise I won't do that. Anyway, this is the podcast that is dedicated to music production, recording, programming, beats, software, synthesizers, live production, live sound, playing live, anything in that kind of the sphere of performing or recording music, with a slant towards electronic and synthesizers and that sort of thing, as is the kind of general flavour of Sonicstate. If you're interested in finding out more about this, either head to sonicstate.com or just subscribe to our YouTube channel. There'll be a button around there somewhere, which you could do. Always welcome. We're streaming live today on Wednesday, the 7th, as I've said, from 4 p.m. This is every Wednesday that we generally go. If you're watching via YouTube, you're probably seeing the live chat room that there is there, but we've also got our own chat room, which is a separate server, sonicstate.com/live. So you can flip between the two and watch both of them. I try and keep an eye on both of them, but as you can understand, I probably won't be able to pay complete attention to that just because, you know, I've got a show to produce and present. But anyway, thank you for joining us. I want to say thank you very much to our sponsors as well. Isotope will be bringing you news of the vocal synth plugin, and also remember there's a competition. They gave a copy away last week, so we'll be finding out who the winner for that is, and we'll also be running another competition this week. This is the way that it's done. Anyway, let's get on to our guests. We'll start with, well, we've got a new and improved Ty Unwin, who's a music and film composer, does a lot of work. In fact, he's so busy, it's very rare we get to see him, but as you may have regularly viewers may realise, his internet connection has been a bit dodgy, but we've solved the problem, right, Ty?
We have solved the problem. Anyone that's looking at going and buying Sky Q, just be aware that it can screw around with your internet speed and general connection woes. Yeah, it's trying to kind of figure out what it was that suddenly made me turn into max headroom constantly, and we found it.
Yeah.
It's Sky Q. So
it seems to interrupt, doesn't it? They interrupt the like I'm doing at the moment, in fact, but I'm not pixelating.
Now your head's from Blumenthal.
So yeah, it messes up with the Wi-Fi network, which is who knew?
Because it forms its own network, it screws up your normal network and slows everything down. It's an absolute pain. So at the moment, we have, every time that I do Sonicstate, we have no TV.
Wow.
So that's fine.
That's fine. You're doing your bit for kind of I don't know,
environment,
yeah, or something. Yeah, we'll keep it at that. Anyway, Ty, great to have you aboard. Always a pleasure. And of course, we have Mr. Gaz Williams there in Bristol in his Garrett studio, where I think last time we spoke, you'd just been finishing off an album. I guess you probably haven't had time to finish off another one since then, but presumably you have been busy.
Just finishing another one at the moment, actually.
Wow.
But, yeah, gosh, there's still a lot to do on that one. But, yeah, nice to be here. Actually, after quite slow news, it's all gone a bit interesting again within
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, July and August, we're kind of struggling to find things to say. And then suddenly, it's kind of...
There's
we have
loads to say.
Yeah,
There's loads to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Gaz, gazwilliams.me is where you can find out what Gaz is up to if he ever updates his site. But being a busy man that he is, you'll see the sort of thing that he gets into. And, of course, Gaz, I think, is coming over this week to do some review stuff, which we might touch on a bit later because there's a kind of subset of a topic there. Anyway. Let's say also welcome to Robbie Bronneman, who is in a new background. He's no longer in the sort of evil chair where he looked like he should hold a white cat. I think that was because he had a black background with you were recording an album with a client. And I guess, is that project now over? Are you?
No, I'm actually at his new house, and we're just finishing off the last 2 tracks.
Right.
So I'm just taking a little break this afternoon.
Well, we haven't seen you for such a long time, apart from your face plastered all over the internet for the entire summer. But not actually to speak to. So, Robbie, it's quite interesting. I mean, you've been involved in the Deep Mind project, and I saw you at Leeds briefly. We didn't get to. You were out partying solo. Or, well, I don't know if it was solo or not, but I didn't get to have a drink with you. But we caught up during the day, and have you got one? Have you got one?
Yeah, I've got one, and it's I've been using it on this project. it's great. I'm really, really very happy with it.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's good. It's just a few little things that they're just trying to snag, but essentially, I think it's pretty much ready to go. It's great.
It's interesting. I mean, I had a little play with it in Leeds, and it feels like, on the face of it, obviously you flip through presets, but starting from scratch, you might think, oh, there's not much to it, but actually you spend a lot more time with it and get deeper, and you can find that it takes a little bit of work to get the most of. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, it does. And I think the great thing is that the team behind it, they're so responsive to the feedback that the people like myself have given, and those are the things that we talked about even at our first initial meeting. They implemented things like, I wanted to see a limited polyphony mode so that you could recreate things like Jupiter or Juno sounds with the proper note stealing, so you could take it down from 12. And they implemented all these modes for doing all that, and all sorts of things about the menu structures. They're just very open to hearing from real musicians about how they can make the product better. So I think it bodes very well for a future, product line, I think.
Yeah, well,
and my sound is preset number 00 on it, so yeah.
Wow. Has that ever happened before? You've got preset word. Whoa, wow.
No, that's ticked off the fucking menu I had.
Wow, nice one. Oh, that's awesome. And is that distorted pad thing that you were talking about? Was it in the effects video? Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that one, yeah.
Ooh.
The one that I whipped up in the first half an hour of having to go on the very early prototype.
Which was originally called Fat 12, I believe, wasn't it? Which is perhaps
PHAT 12, yeah.
Yes. Well, at least it wasn't.
Let's be very thankful that's moved from that.
And at least it wasn't 2 T's, because that's really going too far, isn't it?
Exactly.
Anyway, welcome, Robbie. Welcome, everybody. So we should. Because as we said at the beginning of the show, there are just so many things going on at the moment. We touched on a little bit of it last week. I should also say, did I say we were going to have Tara Bush? But I'm not sure if he's coming on. She might join us later. She's in sound check, so it's a little bit sketchy as to timing. Anyway, let's get on with the show. This is I think we mentioned this briefly last week. This is the news of the new Spectrasonic instrument.
We are super excited to introduce you guys to something that we've been working on for over 10 years. Keyscape is an epic virtual instrument that features the largest selection of collector keyboards in the world. The process began with going to the ends of the earth to find and restore each one of these rare and incredibly special instruments with the top technicians and expert craftsmen from each discipline. We even went as far as spending years redoing these instruments from scratch again and again until they were totally right. This insane attention to detail and meticulous care given to each instrument allowed us to develop these sounds to a whole new level of authentic tone and inspiring playability. After so many years of work, it was a huge thrill for our team to show Keyscape to some wonderful players and get their reactions.
I won't play a lot because it's actually a half-an-hour video, which is pretty epic, really. But who knew? We were speculating last week it was going to be hardware, it was going to be this, that, or the other. But actually, there it is. It's a kind of mechanical keyboard sample set, which sounds a bit. I'm talking it down a little bit, but but done the Spectrasonics way. So, who's thrilled? Who's excited? Who's disappointed? What do you think, generally speaking? Who wants to go first? Hands up, please. Gaz Williams, right there.
Yeah, because I want to talk about that video. That's just like one of the best product videos I think I've ever seen. The way that they used those terrific personalities and different music and real wide range of musicians, I just thought was a very, very smart move. What a way to launch a product. I thought, they're masters of that. And, this is essentially a rompler, isn't it?
I suppose.
Now and that's become a bit of a dirty word in recent times. But when they're presented in such a convincing way, what terrific marketing that is. I think, and I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely brilliant product. And the fact that you could then integrate it into the Omnisphere workflow is it's amazing. It's going to be extremely successful. But as I say, the personalities and the performances in that video was just so special. I just wanted to say, I think they've done a terrific job with that.
Yeah, well, it probably helps. I mean, Eric's based in LA and also, used to hang with a lot of those kind of top session dudes when he was working in studios and programming anyway. So he's got access to some great players. And it really, as you say, it is really, really good. I mean, I'm not so much in the market for these, but it sounds like there's just so much meticulous detail gone in there. And also you can get weird pretty quickly, as you can see by, some of the keyboard players are playing some really odd sounds. And that's the thing that's quite interesting. But so I think there's 36 kind of classic instruments and dual instruments and obviously the steam engine and all of that thing. I mean, you two guys, Robbie and I guess Ty, if I come to you first, I mean, in your world where you're having to have complete recallability, you need access to things, it's, in terms of, film and composition, director wants to change the cue or whatever, this sort of thing must be a godsend. Or have you got enough pianos and keyboards in your life?
Absolutely, but, just like Robbie, I mean, we kind of, Omnisphere is a big part of our life, really, and just to be able to get these sample sets into Omnisphere in itself will be amazing. But I mean, I'm really, I'm a pianist at heart. That's my first instrument. That's what I'm a proper player. And so, just coming back to what Gaz said, he's absolutely spot on. The reason that is so impressive is the fact that these are pros, these are players, these are people that know how to utilize those sounds and make the most of those sounds. And that's what sometimes a lot of these launches are missing. They're missing people who can actually play, people who, so many great synths get demonstrated or, launched with people who who struggle to play two notes at a time. No disrespect to them as, they're a different kind of musician, but for something like this, you need to have the players in there that can actually play. And for that point, it's perfect. I also have to say, I was actually really disappointed when I first, because like everyone else, I'd been building up to it and really looking forward to it, and I was expecting the world. And when they basically said it's a keyboard rompler, essentially, I just thought, oh, great, 77 gig of instruments that I've already got. I don't even know how big my folder is of pianos and electric pianos and toy pianos. And, I've got all of these. And then you actually see what they've done with it and the quality of it. And I went from being really disappointed to, how quickly can I get it? Simple as that. Because I think it's the absolute dog's bees. And just have all of those keyboards in one place, knowing from this point onwards, essentially, if I want an electric piano or a real piano or whatever, the chances are that's going to be my first port of call before I go into the contact libraries is amazing. And at the end of the day, Spectrasonics are one of the best in the game at doing this. And the fact that they've got all of those keys into 77 gig, which I saw someone moaning about how, it's an overblown library, to get 36 sampled keyboards into 77 gig and do it at that kind of quality is some doing. So, it's really excited about it. Really excited about it. It'll be a great success.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that's definitely something that wouldn't necessarily see coming. The thing that I like, I mean, they spent quite a lot of time on the Yamaha C7 piano, which does sound like they really went to town on that in terms of, there was a picture of a bloke ironing the felts on the hammers that they'd got from pre-Cold War kind of stores somewhere. I know, Robbie, I know, you must need pianos and these sort of sounds from time to time. I mean, is this something that you'll probably be adding to your collection?
I will do, because there's no doubting that, to me, that Spectrasonic set the benchmark so highly with regards to the quality of the way they put together libraries and playable libraries that are instantly usable in so many ways. I was a bit like Ty. There was a lot of things like electric pianos and stuff. I very rarely use them. When I do, I do all sorts of crap to them. So having the most amazing Fender Rhodes ever since known sample to man with whatever felt ironed or whatever crumpled or whatever doesn't particularly excite me. But the potential to put the sounds in Omnisphere and mess around with them and add them with other things and kind of use the kind of more kind of unusual stuff does. So yeah, I will definitely add it to my ever growing collection. Yeah, I think it's going to do very well for them. I was actually hoping for something that was a little bit more kind of left field in its kind of sound design kind of thinking, but there's always next year. So I'm sure there's more stuff in the pipeline.
10 years for this one. 77 gigs, or there's a 30 gig light install that you can do for live performance.
Yeah.
36 instruments. I've got my notes here. I think there's 36. I think it's going to be finally launched September the 12th. $399 US. It's not a cheap thing, I mean, the craftsmanship is reflected in the price, I think, or €349. But I guess that's the thing with that sort of stuff. I mean, you go there and that would just be all you would need from that kind of stuff, unless of course you then need some organs and some other things. I find it quite hard to get excited, because when you've massive software instruments, I just find I kind of tend to glaze over, because it's just preset flip, free flip. I mean, presumably you can change stuff, and it looks like you can adjust the noise, the mechanical noise against this noise against that noise, and that I think will help personalize it. But like with Omnisphere, it's going to be sort of permeate everything possibly.
I mean, I was interested. You just said that you said that there's a light version. I hope that they take that thinking down to Omnisphere, because Omnisphere using it live in main stage is an absolute nightmare in terms of it, being unstable with any more than one or two patches. So it'd be nice if they could kind of reverse engineer that thinking, because those instruments would be great. Omnisphere is such a great instrument for live, but it is at the moment it's very CPU intensive.
That's interesting. But maybe there's a way that you can have, like, you play a MIDI file into it, or you play your part, and it figures out what you need because you're not playing all the notes. And it just sort of stretches samples out a bit, so that if you do happen to play that particular note, it'll work, but it won't sound so bad. I don't know. That would be a Ty. You were going to come in there.
Well, only the fact that I was kind of with Robbie on this one, in that I kind of initially I was thinking, I thought we were going to hopefully make something more left field, but then honestly I thought about it, and look, everyone on this panel, but you don't use it, do you, Nick? But everyone else uses Omnisphere. Just think about this. Where could you really go synth-wise that Omnisphere doesn't already take you realistically? I mean,
well, sonically, perhaps, yeah.
So, yeah, sonically, Omnisphere 2 is just such a vast instrument that even if I've got rid of everything else and just used Omnisphere,
that's true.
I would still I wouldn't have a clue. I wouldn't get to the bottom of it for years. We're not talking weeks or months. I mean, it is so deep, and it is such an amazing sound source, and what you can do with it and where you can go with it. And now you can input samples and all this kind of thing. It's an incredible piece of software, and I just thought, well, what can they do after Omnisphere in terms of synths? Yeah. I thought it was going to be something more along the kind of a new version of Stylus. But
please, I hope that's coming. I really hope that's coming.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic. But that's still, I still think it's an exciting product. But as you said, Nick, I can understand why a lot of people don't get excited about these huge libraries, because they basically serve one purpose, and that one purpose is nothing other than to be as realistic as possible, really.
That's one thing that I did. I was watching the video and I watched the play. The one thing I did kind of just get a sense of is, in many ways, that I just thought maybe they'd restored it a wee bit too far. In some cases, it sounded so clean and so perfectly in tune and so whatever, that it was just a tiny bit kind of almost sounding. It's not auto-tune, but it sort of felt like it was almost synthetic in some cases.
But the thing is with that is the fact that you can take something that's that clean and you can basically detune it and make it dirty and make it. What you can't do is take something that's kind of dirtier and more raw and make it clean. So they've taken the right approach, which is to get it as perfect as possible and then leave it for us to, as kind of Robbie was saying, to dirty up and make interesting. You can do that. You can do it the other way around.
And I'm assuming as well that when you integrate it with Omnisphere, it'll just be that when you do essentially the oscillator browsing part, the sound source browsing, you'll be able to load in the entirety of the multi-sample into it.
Yeah, it's like it will act. I'm sure it will act exactly the same way as Trillium, which is their base thing, which is essentially when you go to your Omnisphere patches, you get trillion patches that you can open in Omnisphere, basically, and then use the Omnisphere engine to mess with it. It'll be essentially the same as that.
Right.
So, I mean, in terms of left field, I mean, you can go
off you go,
off you go. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Well, September the 12th, I mean, hopefully, because when they launched Omnisphere 2, I remember the demand was a lot more, and we're talking, if you've got, let's say, just 100 people trying to download 77 gigs at the same time, what that's likely to need in terms of bandwidth. I imagine their bandwidth calculator algorithms have got to be, I mean, I don't know what, the scaling part of that, they must need, they'll probably use up a measurable percentage of total global internet traffic on that day, I'd imagine.
Or just buy the hardware.
Oh, what you can buy? Yeah, you can buy it on.
Yeah, you can buy it boxed.
Boxed, right? Okay, that's a good point. Most people are likely to not wait, but yeah, maybe if they went through that process before, they might do. Okay, well, I think we'll pause there and just have a quick word from our sponsor, because it feels like about that time in the show that one does. Let's see if I can get the ad to play. As we know, Isotope are joining us again with news of vocal synth, and here it comes. This is their multi-module vocal processing. Got harmonizing, the Polyvox module, vocoder, which is your classic sort of vocoder. There's also a CompuVox, which sounds a bit more like your kind of Sennheiser to me, and a talkbox, as I say, without the dribble, and I'll say it again. As with all Isotope products, you can download a demo copy at isotope.com/vocal sync outside the Vox. And of course, as with previous weeks, we have competition for you. I'll just announce the winner of last week. Last week, we asked you to tweet the hashtag, I think it was Ultimate Voice and Vocal Synth. And we got a winner. The winner is someone called Dean Edwards 6. That's on the Twitter handle is Dean Edwards 6. And he said his additional phrase was love robots, which is... That's good. That's a way to use up some characters. So, Dean, if you want to get in touch, you could use the contact form at sonicstate.com/about. Let us know who you are, or Facebook, various places, and we'll hook you up with the Isotope people, and you'll get your copy of Vocal Synth. And of course, we've got another copy to give away. This week, we're looking for the hashtag Super Harmonies and the hashtag Vocal Synth. These are going to be via Twitter that you'll need to enter. So if you tweet with the hashtag Super Harmonies, one word, and the hashtag Vocal Synth as one word to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc., you mentioned both of those, then you will automatically get entered, and we'll pick you from the winners from next week and announce the winner next week. So once again, we thank Isotope for their continued sponsorship of the show. Okay, this one's for you, Gaz. This is the Parva, Futuresonus Parva, piloted by Geert Bevin, and using the instrument. So it's an 8-voice analog synth with full MPE. In fact, you can actually, it's 8-voice multi-timbral, so each voice is a separate voice, but he's got them all playing the same, but obviously different. I think it's filter control, pitch, and pressure. Playing in the way that Geert does. Sounds quite nice, actually, and this also combined with the fact that I think the Parva is now shipping on October the 19th. You can take pre-orders now. They're taking pre-orders now. I think I've got a web page here. If you haven't seen that, that's what it looks like. It does look very nice, although I'm a bit concerned about the tiny, tiny writing in that LCD, just because my eyes are so dim, but I'm sure for everybody else it'll be fine. You can pre-order now at $9.99. So, Gaz, what do you make of this? Are you excited? Hello? Oh, Gaz is frozen. I know. Robbie. Let's try.
Yeah.
Robbie, are you there? Gaz seems to have just frozen. Hello.
I've been following that Parva with interest. Had other things not come along, I might well have probably jumped on that.
It's nice and compact.
I think it's fair to say you can choose a different mode with those displays to display the writing bigger.
Ah, thank you.
I think you can display it bigger at the expense of less information, but you can. There is a different mode of viewing. But yeah, no, I think that's a really. I've always thought that would be a really neat instrument. I need to hear a bit more to hear what it sounds like, but that was kind of the obvious thing to happen, wasn't it? With the MIDI they've implemented. What's that special MIDI mode? The USB.
Yes, I think you can plug directly in. I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so. It was. I thought we were going to see demos with like the Roly or the Lin instrument with it as soon as it was around. But yeah, I think it's a lovely little instrument. That I hope it does well.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether it looks like there's a host mode possible, so I'm wondering if the Roly would work with that. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I heard. Yeah. I mean, it's. I think it's probably a little bit of a shame for them that they couldn't get that instrument out like 8 months quicker.
Yes.
I have a feeling that, come January, who knows what else is coming out, then it may suddenly become a bit of a small fish in a big pond situation. But anyway.
Well, yeah, it's got a lot of compete because we've got loads more stuff to talk about. I don't know. While I try and get Gaz back, Ty, is this something that's on your shopping list? Have you pre-ordered? Will you pre-order?
Do you know what? Exactly the same as Robbie on this one. I've been watching this from day one and initially thought, well, yeah, this looks great. And then it just kind of disappeared, and everything I heard, I just kind of thought, yeah, it sounds good. It sounds okay. But, I mean, for me personally, it doesn't really do anything that I haven't got, apart from, as you say, lovely compact form. I think it looks great. I think the screens, although they're small, I like the idea of it. I like everything about it. But it doesn't really do anything that I don't already have. So, I mean, I won't be having one. But exactly as Robbie said, I think the problem is really with this is that if it had come out a few months earlier, before all the Behringer, before all the stuff that's coming out now, never mind, as you said, what's coming out in January, I think they might struggle a bit. But I hope they don't, because it's good to see new synths coming out. But the way that it's been used with the Lin instruments is great. That sounds good, and if it does work with Roly, that's even better. Actually, talking about Roly, it's nice to know that lots of companies are now starting to take Roly seriously, and there's quite a few sample libraries that are coming out now that have specific patches, as Roly setups.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, they just bought They bought FXpansion, didn't they? Just announced that recently as well. So.
Which is, I mean, that's great news because FXpansion make some great products, and obviously they had some kind of integration because when you bought the Seaboard, you got a kind of stripped back version of Decam. Is it Decam? I think.
Yes, I think that's their synth. Yeah.
Yeah, that you could, can run just with the Roly.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of sample libraries that are coming out with extra patches, contact patches now that are specifically set up for Roly. So that's really good to see. So it's nice that these alternative controllers are.
I mean, it could be, if they get the Roly working with it, this is precisely the sort of thing that could get people excited because it's like, hey, I can plug that in and I've got like this expressive thing. Gaz, I don't know if you're there. I can see an icon, but I can't hear anything. Are you with us?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. But we can't see you. But that'll do for now. I know you've been gassing about the Parva for a while, haven't you? And is this now?
Well, interestingly, if it had have come out earlier, I probably would have bought it rather than the Electron Analog 4 for MIDI-based purposes. But I've been doing quite a similar thing that we saw in the video with the Linstrument, but using the Analog 4, because you can use the Analog 4 almost like an MPE. It's just a little bit more long-winded. I like the picture. Yeah,
well, I'm just doing better. I'm thinking on the fly. You're lucky. You should see what I got for Ty when his video went down.
So I thought it was really cool seeing that. And I mean, the thing to remember with the Parva, so future thinking in its design, having that USB port on there. So the Linstrument, what a brilliant hookup. Very little equipment needed. Linstrument, Parva, one USB cable, and power for the Parva. I can imagine that being just a perfect mix. I mean, what's been interesting for me using the Linstrument in the last month or so is that I'm tending to notice that I'm making more sounds the same because and it's just something I'm thinking about. I wonder if other people may be finding this as well. That if you have filters that open on every press, you tend to sort of slide the fingers a little bit. So you tend to always articulate like a filter movement because of that y-axis kind of. Certainly with an instrument, it's beautiful and completely controllable, but I do keep finding that I'm making sounds sound quite similar. And it was funny watching the Geertz demonstration. I thought what he was playing was the same sort of thing that my things have been sounding like.
Oh, really?
Too, yeah. So just because of that articulation, it's beautiful, but it is, it does create that.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to get any video coming on, Gaz. I mean, because just if there's an opportunity, that'd be great. But it's not a deal breaker. But basically, like I said, I think if they compare this up nicely, then it could be a big seller for both. Both things, because MPE certainly on the Rolly, it's fantastic to play with the built-in instrument. I can't remember what it's called now. Is it Equator?
Yeah.
Equator, yeah. But that's kind of it when it comes to getting the most out of that. So it'd be great to be able to have some hardware.
What's the price on the Parva? I haven't followed it for a few weeks.
It's $999 pre-order. So it's about the same price as the Behringer, yeah, which is difficult to, yeah. I mean but it may well have more capabilities.
And of course, then there'll be the desktop Behringer as well, which obviously there's been pictures posted of.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be quite a disruptive thing in that point, but different at the same time. I mean, I think the Parva's got more waveforms and presumably, other aspects to it as well. Okay, right. Let's move on. Oh yeah, okay. There's another one. This is a shot I always wanted to use.
Oh, this is a Gaz one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Straight away.
I always wanted to use that. It's like the Steven Spielberg dinosaur puddle shot. I always wanted to use that somewhere in a product video. So this is the new Volca kick, which is kind of based. This paired up with a sample, which is based on I think the resonant frequency filter of the MS-20, presumably the high pass filter, because that's the way you generate those super low harmonics. And I think that's Tatsuya doing the demo as well, which is nice to see. Quite a sort of mono-skilled type of instrument by the looks of things. I'm not going to play the whole thing because, you can watch it yourself. But yeah, so this is one of many new Korg items, in fact, because we've also got, there's the Volca kick, we've got the ARP Odyssey module, we've got the MicroKorg S, which appears to have speakers and white and a bit more patch memory, and these rather interesting Metronomes, which I was interested in. But I'm going to come to you first, Gaz. Is this going to be joining your Volca collection, do you think?
Oh, I think so. I think it's brilliant. I think...
I knew you would.
Okay, why? Justify why it's brilliant. I'm not sure I agree, but...
Okay. In a way, I think this is almost like... I love this idea of just like little virtual... not virtual plugins, real physical plugins. And this feels almost like it's just a plugin almost. It's just a very fixed focus. You'll be able to do stuff on that will be so exciting and sonically juicy. It's amazing. I think it's a brilliant idea. Rather than expanding and trying to make a thing that does loads, it's gone the other way, just focusing on that one thing. And I think the sad thing is that the Volca Beats, the kick was the nicest part of the Volca Beats. And the snare.
Do you think we're going to get a Volca hat? Volca hats.
It's kind of like an idea, isn't it? It's basically like the tip-top audio idea. You might well see individual units for the individual thing.
I like that.
Well, I have to say, I mean, in answer to your, I think it's good. I mean, this is more expensive, admittedly, but the Jomox M-Bass 11 is a really, really good kick machine that does a load of different things, and it's massive. It's more expensive, but it's honestly, if you want kicks, it's a million times, well, no, I say that, but how do I know it's a million times better? But it's a lot more flexible because you've got all sorts of different partials. You could create, 909 type kicks. Also, it's a kick. There's a lot of different kind of kicks and kick synthesis in there, which is kind of more flexible. Okay, it hasn't got the sequencer, but really, I mean, how often do you need a motion sequencer for a kick drum?
I reckon that's what it's all about, though.
You do?
Yeah, I think it's a sequencer. It's that fact of it just being there, bang. You just get something banging, and like that module you just shown there. That's all very well and good for a studio and for a very sort of thoughtful approach. But I think Volcas are like little punky kids, aren't they? Just snotty punky kids. It's like, and that thing's going to be bag full of attitude. I just think I would just love to see some kid, at some sort of talent show turning up, like an 11-year-old. With just that,
and rapping or something. Yeah, no, I take your point, and and maybe we'll see that. Maybe we'll see someone turn up on Britain's Got Talent or X Factor or one of those things with a Volca performer. I don't know. The other stuff is interesting though as well. I know Ty, you were expressing an interest in the Carp Odyssey, as it's been called, desktop. That seems like something that floats your boat.
Yeah, that's got. I mean, basically, I always loved the idea when they did the reissue, but I mean, people know my feelings on mini keyboards, and I made the mistake of buying the MS-20 when it came out with mini, and I can't cope with mini keys. I have sausage fingers, and it just feels like every time I play it, it just feels like a toy. So I got the MS-20M, which feels great. So this will basically just join that, and. I just can't wait for the desktop version.
Did you build the MS-20M? Because I love that thing. I wish I could have held onto that. I think it's what the MS-20 should always have been myself.
Absolutely, completely agree. It's a fantastic little thing, and so this joining that will be definitely the only decision I've got to make is, do I go for the white one or the black one? I think I'm going to go for the white, to be fair, but so that's fantastic. Really excited about that. As for the Volca kick thing, I see this very much like, I can't believe I'm saying this. I see this like a TB303, really, which is, when the 303 came along with the 606 back in 1980, whatever it was, 82, 83. Everyone didn't kind of get it. And I mean, I still don't get the 303. I absolutely don't. But it's that kind of, exactly like Gaz said, I think it's, when you start making instruments like this do what they really shouldn't be doing and going into a world that is kind of off the wall and you're making it do things that isn't its natural territory, that's when it will become interesting. The idea of just having this just to do four on the floor.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But to actually go off the wall and do things that, I see it very much in a 303, which means that in 20 years' time, people will be saying how amazing,
They'll be changing hands for a million credits on.
One of the shames, though, is that there's a good sequencer. The Volca sequencer has taken another step forward with the kick one, hasn't it? You can do much better pattern chaining now.
I didn't see that. Okay, well that's
So to bear that in mind, I think that's
maybe
cool.
We'll get a proper Volca sequencer. I know, Robbie. Any of these new Korg offerings float your boat? Maybe the Metronome.
No, I mean, that's a clever idea. I mean, I've been over to Gaz's and noodle-doodled around on his with him. And, been on a camping trip where he noodle-doodled around with him around the campfire. But, they're good fun instruments. Like Gaz said, the thing about those Volcas, it's all about, they're just a little bit sort of without thinking, just create something, They're not trying to be too refined. So I think that thoroughly fits in with the ethos of, people who buy into those. It's kind of like, you just got to have the whole set. If it's like, you have to feel like it's part of a little ecosystem of
like Lego,
of new fun music making things. And I think from that point of view, they're great. I just wanted to actually, a slight aside, I don't know if you talked about this last time or another time. I was a bit confused that Roland were bringing out a TB303 Boutique. When there's already the TB3 that they already brought out the year before.
No, that's going to be next.
Hold your horses. Hold your horses, Robbie.
That'll be next. But yes, I agree. I mean, I would say, but while we're still on the subject of Korg, I was just going to quickly throw this one in. This is these metronomes. There's a series of metronomes. One's for golf swing, which is a bizarre thing, but these synchronized metronomes, that seems like a kind of pretty cool idea. So what you do is you set your tempo, and then you beam it to somebody else wearing the same thing, and you're all on the same tempo. I just think that actually... There's probably got some quite useful uses for such a little utilitarian thing. I mean, it's a very basic kind of... Oh, no, hold on. There's a video. What does that do? I haven't... Oh, Jesus Christ. So you can sync your metronome.
This will sound better.
Gosh, really.
That music would sound better if it went out of sync, I think.
I think you're right, yeah.
I think it would sound better if it was binned all together. The music.
Yeah, no, I think I'll skip that. I must admit, I didn't find that video until just now, and I think I'm really sorry I've inflicted that upon the listening public. I do, but I thought that's kind of a cool idea. It's kind of a bit like the what's the link thing that they do in for the apps? I can't remember what it's called now. Is it? You'll know, Gaz.
Whist.
Whist. It's kind of like that concept. Oh, yeah. And Ty's holding up his Kickstarter metronome.
Yeah, the pulse thing, which is exactly the same concept. This all links in to other ones, but you can either have them controlling one another or from one phone, or you can have them linked into your door. The difference is with this, as well as just playing a beep in your ear, it actually vibrates on your wrist or your leg or wherever you want to wrap it round as well.
And the good thing about that one, of course, is that it doesn't make you look like a businessman sort of 5 years ago who had a terrible, tragic Bluetooth phone headset. Which those ones look like that.
They do look a little bit like... I'm sorry, I'm very busy and very important. I'm talking to somebody. I'm expecting a very important call at any second to do with discount on a set of UPVC windows. Yeah, I know
exactly.
What you mean. Yeah.
That's it.
The first thing I thought was, you can't wear in ears when you've got those on. Yeah. Well, whether it's it's a different kind of first. That's the first thing I thought was, what a great idea, but you can't wear in ears.
So instead of that, isn't it? Because it's rely on the fact that you want to hear all the people around you in the air.
Yeah, there's music. There's synchronized music players as well, except that wasn't quite because they're preset patterns. It's for ballroom dancing, so there's all the cha-cha-chas and things, and you can basically all wear the same thing and practice without having a sound set. So you and your partner have the same music in your ears. But
that's clever.
But it's accompaniment. It's like auto accompaniment in your earpiece. But this technology is kind of a little bit of a left field. It's an interesting area to explore, I guess.
One thing I would say, which we had this talk on tour, because we're on tour when we were tour. OMD were on tour with us as well, and Andy McCluskey and both Paul Humphreys, they were both using one in ear, and it's really bad using one in ear because when you don't have both of them in, and you want to hear stuff out here, and you want to just hear localized vocal or whatever in one ear, you don't realise it, but you actually. Well, because of the psychoacoustic effect, you end up turning that one ear up way louder than you think it is, and so you might have your pack on like 9 and think that's quite a comfortable level, but actually it's really bad for your hearing. So okay. All these things where you only just have one thing in your ear, I'm very sceptical of them. So, for instance, on tour, Andy McCluskey he finally relented and put both his ears in. And relied on that as opposed to having wedges as well. And he dropped his in-ear monitoring level from like 9 on his pack down to 5.
Right. So
I'm a little bit sceptical about things that are just always going in one ear while you're hearing stuff from elsewhere.
Yeah, anyway. The thought of having a beep, beep, 90
you go, it's not loud enough, I'll just turn it up a bit more, more.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, fair enough. I'm sure there's protection in there. Korg are responsible manufacturers. Anyway, that was those things. That's kind of interesting. The other thing that's come up, I did actually get a call from Roland. We tweeted these pictures when we found them, and they asked me to take them down because for God knows why, but I mean, they're everywhere. So the other news is, and I think it's something you were talking about, Robbie, was the concept of this, these new, here's a new, I think, I'm not sure if it's a boutique or whether it's an IRA system. There's a 303 and it looks like there's a System 8, and then there's this 909, which they do look quite nice, actually, I have to say. But I'm wondering what they do, because the thing about the TR-08, this is on Fact Mag if you're interested, but you can find it pretty much anywhere. If they're if they're the same as the TR-8 or the TB3, kind of I guess the TB3 will be different, but the TR-8, I'm not quite sure why you would. Apart from what it looks like.
But that's what I was confused about, because essentially wasn't the TB3 meant to be a modern realisation of the sound of the TB303 in just a more kind of meant to be in a different kind of looking package? Well, all that smacks to me of is basically people were like, no, we don't want reimagined things, we just want clones of the original stuff. And so they've kind of thought, well, we've already got the kind of the electronics done, we just have to repackage it in a different bit of plastic.
Well, maybe. I don't know. We don't know yet. Obviously, on the 9th, that's going to be the day when we find out.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately, Robbie, I think you're right. I think that it is literally just for idiots like me that just look at it and go, hey, it's a 909 again. Hey, it's a 3, although you won't have me saying 303, and then fall for it. And I think they are boutique. I mean, I can only say what everyone else says. I mean, I've only seen what everyone else has seen. But they do look like boutique. And I kind of see it the same way that Robbie was talking about the Volca lot, as a kind of a little family. And because I've got the other boutique.
You've got to have them all.
I'm
it's
already
like
sitting
vinyl collectibles, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I'm already sitting there going, the 909, because I used to have a 909 and used to use it quite a lot. So the 909's a definite. The VP.
I've got a picture for that.
Yeah, that one looks good. That one actually looks quite interesting.
Yeah.
This is based on the VP 330, which was a bit. I think Tomita used to use it. I wonder if this was slightly inspired, because obviously Tomita passed away some time back, and maybe
that was good. That's interesting to me, that one.
Yeah, only 4 voices, maybe. Oh, sorry.
But I saw people saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice if they brought out a Juno 60 boutique?" And it's like, they just brought out a Juno boutique last year. I mean, it's like, how much different is a Juno 60 boutique going to be to the Juno 106 one? 06 they've already got. It's just like,
I know.
Come on, it's just to get silly eventually, doesn't it?
Carry on, Ty. Yeah, I take your point.
Going to be doing individual serial numbers next. So the VP, I'm there going, you got to have that, and the 909 got to have that. But then, I do sit there thinking, I've made it very clear for years what I think of the 303. I think the TB303 is a complete waste of time and was a piece of crap back in 1982, and is still a piece of crap. But I know for a fact I will have to buy one for the simple reason that it's got to complete the family. I can't have everyone and then not have a 303, and it's so.
Well, it could be like the errant child, or the spouse of your beloved daughter that you never really got on with, and you won't have in the house. Bad. Yeah, it's interesting that. I mean, there's been some talk about this. I mean, obviously, it's all speculation. I would like to add, this is all speculation. But the 303, the 909, the thing that's different between the TR-08 and the other drum machines is the pattern chaining, the ability to create more song style stuff. So if they address that in the 909, the new TR-0, is it TR-909 or TR-09? I forget which. Then that will be something that makes it a kind of a valid point. Yeah. But the vocoder does look kind of cool, and it's got that massive jack on the XLR on the front. And it would be, I mean, only 4 voices again, because that's the boutique format for those. If it's got more than 4 voices, it would be awesome. But I'm suspecting it might not. The other thing that's really interesting is the System 8.
Oh my god! Yeah.
This sounds brilliant. Like it's going to have 3 plug outs, possibly. Gaz, I know. Yeah. Did you were? I know one of you was quite keen on the System 01. Was it you? The System 1?
Yeah. I had one for quite a while, and it was great. I really liked it, and but I think this is just exactly what they should be doing. This, I mean, it does look like it is going to be quite expensive, but I mean, there's what, over 70 knobs and faders on there.
Let's see if we can get a bit closer up on it.
But I mean, they're going to pull, aren't they? The obvious thing is that, we all were hoping for like a bigger version of the boutique. I guess this is like the main frame for that.
Whoops.
So like a Jupiter 8 plug out, the Juno plug out, and all that.
Yes. Well, thank you, Robbie. That just stole the words right out of my mouth. What I thought was going to make up a number of that 30 releases. They're putting out 30 new product launches, aren't they? On
909 day, starting at 4:00 in the morning UK time, which I will not be present at. I could assure you.
Well, it just made me think, if they launched the plug outs of the previous line of boutiques, the Junos and the Jupiter and the JX as plug-outs, that would tie in very nicely with this System 8 launch, wouldn't it? Because
well, it looks like, because
it can host 3 different plug-outs simultaneously. And remember, the cool thing is that those green LED lights will light up depending if the plug-out needs them or not.
That's true. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what this has got. Looks like a couple of oscillators and a oscillator 3/sub oscillator. That's actually quite impressive. And the other thing is that they've got, effect sends and mod sends. Oh, that's interesting. And it's got a display, which the previous one hadn't. Let's see what else we got going on. Oh, it doesn't look like I can see that. I'm going to have to zoom back out. Oops. Oh, dear. I'm making it.
It would be an irony if they did a plug-out for the JD800. A plug-in of a digital plug, emulation. An emulation of an emulation.
I think the System 8, I have to say, from my point of view, is the first Roland thing in a long time that is a bit of a must-have for me. I haven't really had that.
You bought all the boutiques. I mean, that was only a few months ago.
They don't count. They weren't
real. I hope
they were just nice things because they're little and cute. No, actually, genuine, real genuine excitement about the System 8. I think I'm excited about that simply because I've only played limited access to a System 1 and System 1M. And the System 1, I actually loved the idea, but I couldn't cope with another thing with 4-note poly and the keyboard action was, hilarious. And then,
I wonder whether the System 8 is going to have the same keyboard action or not. We don't know, do we?
No, it absolutely won't. It won't. The System 8's got a proper keyboard.
Says a man who may or may not know more than he's letting on. Okay.
And do you know what? More than anything else, they wouldn't make that mistake again, because the only real thing that people criticised about the one was it was the same action as they had in the PCR one. You remember the old PCR?
Right. I loved that keybed though.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I thought it was great.
A lot of people like me. Again, it's coming back to the players thing. I hate it. I've got a PCR 1 and a PCR 1M, and they're great for what they are. But when you hook it up to a synth like that, no, it didn't work for me. So the 8, anything that's got essentially, the functionality of a System 1 with a better keyboard, with more polyphony, and more importantly, 3 plug outs.
That does sound pretty cool, actually.
And it's got a chorus on it. This one?
Yeah. There you go.
Finally, chorus.
It's got a chorus.
And chorus, then everyone's happy. So, I mean, that's the first Roland synth in a long time that has really made me just go, yep, okay, that's absolute, got to have. So, I'm really excited about that. Very excited about it.
Okay, well, I'd just like to say we'll hopefully have a couple of opportunities to see this. First of all, NobCon is happening this weekend. I think Katie Kilbyte's in the chat room, and she's going to be there. And we may get some footage from that because Suit and Tie Guy said that the Roland stuff may be there. But if not, I'm going up to BPM on Monday in Birmingham, where they will have all of those. And I've got a date with David Ireland, who's going to show me around all of those instruments. So I'm going to go and film some video as well. And that's going to be something that we'll have next week. So we'll have a lot more information, outside of whatever it is that's going to be broadcast on 909 Day. So, I mean, we will know more. And, I mean, what a time to be into synths. It's I don't think I've ever known a time when there's so much coming onto market. I mean, is it going to be saturated, or, the more the merrier? I don't know. What do you think, Robbie? Can you have more? Will you be looking for a tiny mobile setup?
Well, no, I don't know. I'm really just. This year I've had a kind of a bit of a I don't know, just a lack of interest in gear, because I've just been so busy doing projects and enjoying what I've got. Right. I don't know if it's just a thing people go through phases of their musical career or whatever, where they just got massive lust for it, and then other times they're just kind of happy to coast along, or whether you just, after a while, when you had so much gear along the way, you just think, actually, I'm only going to really invest in things that really excite me, as opposed to lots of other stuff that is kind of fun for a while. So I don't know. I'm kind of content, but I'll never say never, because I'm always buying software and stuff. But hardware, I think it has to be something pretty special for me to want to to kind of add to the growing number of things.
Right, I got you. I think I know a man who might have a word to say on the matter.
Yeah.
Well, no, only because do you remember? Almost probably this time last year, maybe a bit close to Christmas, about 8 or 9 months ago. Do you remember? I remember saying on one of these, "Oh, I've got something to share with you," I never got to share it with you. But it's basically exactly what Rob is saying now. Is that I'm exactly the same. I go through periods where I just look at so much stuff and just think I'm so uninspired by a lot of stuff that's coming onto market. And to be fair, that I don't think it's, although there's a lot of stuff come onto market, there's been very little coming onto market that's really given me genuine gear lust. I mean, there's the Mermix V2, that's really exciting.
I'm hoping that's going to be at NobCon as well. I really want to hear what that sounds
brilliant. Like. So, but there's not that much that's really got me excited. So, what Robbie is talking about, I absolutely get. And there's everyone makes this joke that I just buy everything that's out there. I don't at all. I'm really fussy about what I buy.
It's just there's lots of it.
It's just I mean there is lots of it, but there's I haven't been that really excited by a product for a long time. Really.
Well, I've got something you might get excited about. I bought one of these yesterday. And I'm, as you know, I'm quite a fan of luggage, and when we go and do these live broadcasts and I do my gigs, I've got these sort of plastic boxes that I carry around, which you have to tape shut, and it's really irritating. And I found on eBay one of these, which is a really nice, rugged, kind of solid Pelican-like case. 20 quid.
Oh wow!
And it's a 500mm in. This is quite big. It's a 500mm internal depth, and that's going to take. And that was 20 quid plus a tenner shipping, but still 30 quid for that. I mean, that is those things. The real thing costs many times more than that. So if you're in the market,
is that just like a one-off, or is this someone just selling?
You can buy them. Hold on, I've got the webpage up here. Just look for.
I'm interested in that.
You just look for, so it's got that kind of stuff going on. And you've got side catches. You can get them filled with foam or without. Actually, the one I bought was more expensive. I'm just pretending that it was this one. I bought this one as well because I need a couple. So, that's it. I think if you just search for a professional waterproof durable case like Pelicase, I mean, who's the buyer in this? Captain Green Dog is the guy. I know, Gaz, are you still there? You went away. Have you come back?
Yeah, I can't. I don't know why. I must have to ring out of Skype to get my reload Skype, I guess, maybe to get
your video back. But I mean, you're not a massive consumer of synthesizers as such. More of the, you tend to go for the lots of small. Although you have got the Analog 4, I guess that's a pretty big investment, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's the Analog 4 is specifically for my MIDI bass system. But I do like small little modules. I have to say, I think it sort of haven't got a great big space here, so the little modules I think are brilliant fun. I think I don't think there's any shame in them reselling the IRA models again in the 909 and the 303 and whatever.
No, it's funny though, isn't it? The way that that the both of the not the 909 but certainly the 303 and I think possibly the 808 when they actually came out first time were sort of product flops. They didn't actually really kind of. They were probably amongst Roland's least successful actual at the time of launch, and now they're kind of building this legacy back on this thing. It's kind of amusing.
Sorry, I was going to say, to be fair, to temper that, I agree. I guess the 909 specifically is different animal to the TR8 because the TR8 is kind of a bit of a chameleon because it does the 808 stuff and the 999 stuff and the 606 and all that. This is a specific unit to just do one specific thing. So, I guess it is a different animal.
Yeah.
I think from my point of view is the fact that because I, kind of used to have a 909, it will just be, kind of muscle memory will just be, it'll just be like using going back to the old days using a 909. And it seems, from what I can see, it looks like the whole pattern.
It doesn't have the separate outs though, which I think is.
That's the only thing. It really does look like the only thing it doesn't have the separate outs, which would be a biggie if it was a it was going to be a main drum machine, it would be a big thing. But for what I would use it for, it's great. And what you're talking about, the 303, is that I remember when the 303 was coming towards the end of its life, and I'm sure everyone else remembers. And Soho Soundhouse, I think it was £89 they were selling the 303 off for, and they were struggling to sell them off at £89 for a TB303, and they were struggling to get rid of them. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it might have been 69, but it was something. It's 69 or 89, and they couldn't get rid of them.
I remember when I first went up to London, some friends of mine were living in Squat in up near Camden, and they were involved in the warehouse party scene. And it was a guy called Tim, and he was the bass player for Eat, and he was really into techno as well. And I remember going up there, and he had a 303 and a 606 together, and he was just banging out tune after tune after tune, which was right at the time. I mean, it must have been 80, oh gosh, something, early 80s, definitely. And he had them, and they must have been very then. And he was absolutely loving it. And they just sat there and just record stuff and stick it out a white label, and kind of, that was it. That was his entire music setup outside of the, the playing in the band thing. It was just everywhere.
606 is a great machine. I wish they'd, if you had a 606, I'd be there like a...
Oh, that ride cymbal. You just can't beat that ride cymbal.
It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Really is.
Well, maybe Korg Volca will do a Volca cymbal, and then you'll be, you might be, or you could always get a Volca sample and put the cymbal in the sample. Anyway, there we go. Is there anything else? Gosh, we seem to have I got through? Interesting range of metronomes. Did the Korg stuff? Yeah, there was no D50. That was the thing that was that everybody was surprised at. That seemed to be a dead cert. Everyone was saying, it's going to be a D50. It's going to be a D50. And I know Dave.
Boutique 50.
The Boutique 50. The D5. No, you couldn't have a D5 because there was a D5,
had a D5
and a D10. Maybe they'll do. Do you think they'll do it? Sorry, Gaz. Yeah, come on.
Well, you're talking about D50, and obviously the D50 didn't have hardly any controls on it, so they're talking about a D50.
Just a load of buttons and a big LCD.
Yeah. So that, So they'd have to put some controls on the front, and it just got me thinking: was there an actual controller for the D50?
Ooh,
yes, there was a PG1000.
All right, I'm going to have to look at that. I'm going to look at that.
Yeah, PG1000.
Geekheads. PG1000. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the PG1000. I had the PG10 to go with the D10. I had the PG whatever for the MKS30, the PG200 for the MKS50, all that shit.
Oh my, look at that. That is almost like a spreadsheet of controllers, isn't it? That is just so unattractive. Wow.
But you see but this is what they did when they bought out the JX03, and basically because the GX3P didn't have any controls, so they bought it out with a version with the PG200 on it, so they could bring out a D, if they really wanted to, a D50 version with the PG1000 on it.
Well, hold on. I'm thinking there's a product range here. So you have all the boutiques, which are almost inoperable because of the size of the controls. Then you bring out a companion boutique, which is just the controls and nothing else. So you don't actually need any of the other stuff, and it's just a MIDI controller for the other bit. So together they form something that's usable, and then they could double up. So you could have the JP08 controller programmer. They could go on forever, couldn't it?
I mean, just like the MKS70 and the MKS80.
They've got form.
Yeah, so let's go back to 1986. Is that what you're saying?
No, but I mean, we're not far off that, really, are we? We're just using DSP instead of actual discrete electronics on this one. So,
but this is what I worry about. This is what I worry about. Joking aside, is the fact that everyone calls that everyone wants all this retro stuff, and then the retro stuff comes along, and it's great for what it is. But I do get really concerned that I just keep thinking this is great, but this. In terms of genuine moving forward with synthesis, we're not really that much further on than where we were in the mid-80s. And I'm just thinking, 30-odd years later, keyboard synths that come along that are genuinely forward-thinking and genuinely creative and genuinely going somewhere new, it's either in kind of software or iPad. Wouldn't it be amazing to get a piece of hardware that Do you know what I mean? That just
Well,
tries
that's
to
going to be happening because it's obviously cheaper, easier to develop in software to kind of come up with those concepts. If you're then you just got to look what happened to the Parva guys. You know, I mean, they announced this has been coming for months and months and months. I mean, more than a year. So, I mean, to make the hardware, it was actually really difficult. You know, and you need to have that kind of large scale manufacturing base behind you, or at least, you know, the expertise somewhere, or you've got to kind of learn it yourself the first time round. So maybe that will happen. I mean, maybe there will be, the realization the next phase will be stuff that is designed in software coming out in hardware. But it's just, again, it just needs DSP and control, doesn't it? I mean, I wonder whether... Sorry, go.
No, sorry, I've got a real bad delay here. Sorry, I must be jumping in. I was just going to say, I think all that Roland are doing is people have asked for this stuff for so long, and they've just got, they've got a different outlet now. They're just gonna blitz it for the next, they'll blitz it over a condensed period, and then they've exhausted anything that people are interested in, and then they just move on.
Yeah, that's possible.
It's because I mean they can't do it forever. I mean, there's not an infinite amount of products to release that anyone's interested in. So I mean, probably in about another year or so's time, or 2 years, boutique. I mean, there'd be just nothing to boutique. Otherwise, So yeah.
That's a good point. Maybe, but then I guess they've got the form factor, and you can chuck some DSP in that will. Maybe you'll get a boutique V-synth, or something like that. I mean, they brought
out the chip tone one, haven't they? Which isn't a boutique product based on any retro stuff.
Oh yes, is that? Yes,
the AO1.
Is that the one with
the AO1, which is kind of a bit of the form factor with a bit of a slightly left field thinking. So perhaps there'll be a bit more about stuff like that.
Yeah, but you say left field thinking. What, going back to computer games from 1981?
I know, but you know what I mean. It's not pillaging their past.
That's really
they pillage somebody else's past.
Well, I'd completely forgotten about the AO1, and it sort of hasn't really come to much, has it? Or maybe they. But it was a controller, and it's got a sequencer built in. I mean, it's probably got some quite good utility there. Am I right in thinking it's got CV control in it as well?
I think it has, yeah.
It's probably something CV... No, it's CV out and gate out, so you can drive a sequencer off it. So it's probably one of those things that people didn't really, think much of, but somebody is finding incredibly useful somewhere.
Yeah.
Right, oh gosh, time's marched on. I'm going to have to knock it on the head because I've got to get off. But it's been excellent fun as ever. I'm sorry if you were tuning in to see Tara Bush. She was going to come live from her sound check, and obviously these things are quite fluid. There are 3 other bands on the bill, so events overtook us, so she couldn't join us. But hopefully we'll be able to get her in while she's in England. Where she's touring with I Speak Machine and Troika, which is now I'm trying to remember who those people are. It's Hannah Peel and Kite Bass, and then later she's also got some dates with Gary Newman, which she was doing in the States. So been doing a lot of live work, and I wanted to talk to her about that because she never really used to do that. As have you, Robbie. You've been out in the States for months.
Yeah,
haven't you? Yeah.
Well, I was away, and then I got back, and then I was away again last week for another week, and then back, and then off to Australia in November, and then off for another 20-date US tour end of November, December. So
wow! So you must be your live rig must be honed to perfection.
Yeah, we've just had this discussion. We're just gonna totally redo it again for next year. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we had a terrible gig in Vegas, which I hope never happens ever again in my career. In that it was knocking on 120 degrees, and it was an outside gig, and basically none of the equipment, not let alone our equipment, virtually none of the equipment could survive, because things like MacBooks are rated to work up to a maximum of 105, and literally solder starts running on the circuit boards and attaching to SSDs and stuff, and you put fans on it, and it's just like putting a hairdryer because there's no cold air to draw into a fan. So we did this gig, and as soon as we started, everything crapped out, and basically it was just a disaster, and Howard had to keep doing a cappellas, and my rig stopped working 4 or 5 times, and we started doing things like putting ice packs under these computers, and they started melting, so it's like it was on a waterbed. Within minutes. It was just like the worst possible thing ever. I was only consoled by the fact that I heard the next night Duran Duran were there, and exactly the same thing happened to them. So, it's just the thing of taking out laptops. So what we've decided to do is we're going to get a rig of Mac Minis and all the tech all off stage, all racked up, and we're going to just have fan systems in it, and not have computers on stage in full on sunlight and stuff. So yeah.
All right, so you're going to have an aircon rig.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's just I'd rather just not do those type of gigs, because that coupled with wearing skin tight jeans and tight fitting velvet jackets is not really conducive.
Yeah, but you should put something in the contract that just says if it's over 100 degrees, I'm sorry, it's not possible. That sounds awful.
Naked only. Yeah.
Wow, I don't know, guys. You could probably. Yes, that sounds awful. I mean, at least I don't know whether stringed instruments or amps would even work in that kind of heat. I mean, that's just insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I had the opposite though of playing an outdoor gig in February that was just knobbling. It was so cold, I mean, frost was forming on my strings.
Wow!
Did you have an icicle off your nose? That's what I want to know.
It's like my moustache was formed into like deadly spikes. It was horrible. It was so cold. It was so cold. And it was trying to play funk as well.
Cold, stone cold funk. That sounds like some kind of an album title there. There's probably a genre. It's like Helium House, or whatever. Yeah. Wow. Well, anyway, that's thanks for those extra tales, those bonus anecdotes. Fantastic. So I think really we should probably knock it on the head because it's been a long day, and I want to say thank you very much to iZotope for sponsoring the show. In fact, if you want to win a copy of iZotope's vocal synth, the vocal processor, vocoder and harmonizer, you want to tweet the hashtag superharmonies and the hashtag vocal synth to @Sonicstate and @iZotope Inc. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for everybody for watching. Thank you very much, Ty Unwin, and I'm so pleased to see you in full resolution. It's been such a long time, it feels like. So thank you and thank the rest of your family for giving up their home entertainment so this is possible.
That will do. Great to be here.
And I guess next time we'll be talking about what actually happened on 909 Day. And also, Robbie Bronneman, thank you for joining us too. It's been a pleasure to have you. Yes, your network is deteriorating fast. You're merging into the background.
It's shocking here. It's shocking. That's the only problem. I've got a maximum of 3.5 up and 200 kilobytes down.
Wow. Well, it seems to have held up pretty well so far. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Robbie. And we'll see you again soon. And Gaz, as well, has been limping through somehow with no video. But thank you, Gaz, for joining us. I'm hoping to see you later in the week where we can take a look at your thoughts on various pieces of equipment we're going to review. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, excited about that. Yeah, that's going to be good fun. Okay, thanks. And thanks, everyone.
Okay, that's it for this week. That was episode 462. If you've been watching on YouTube or anywhere else, please do subscribe. It's the best way to get stuff. We've got a lot of more things coming, as I say. I'll have some more information on the new IRA coming up from BPM, which I'll be filming on Monday. So do stay tuned. That'll be up on YouTube. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
I'll fade to black.
Yeah.